Well, it's New Zealand's newest circuit and also the most beautiful. In fact, it's probably the most beautiful circuit in the world. Welcome to Cromwell and Highlands Park. Hi, I'm Sean Summerfield. Great to have you watching CRC Motorsport today here at this awesome circuit. The sound of thunder that is the BNT V8 SuperTourers. Today kicks off the 2014 season. Great to have you along. It's going to be an awesome show today, kicking off with qualifying next, then coverage of all three races over 200 kilometres. Well, it's fair to say, though, what we've gained in big scenery, we've probably lost in big names. There's a few changes to the lineup of the BNT V8 SuperTourers. Shane van Gisbergen will only be here for the Enduro Series this year. He won't be racing in the Sprint Series. Also missing from the opening round a few names, including Scott McLaughlin and Andy Booth. Looking forward to having them back. But while we've lost some of those names, there are some new names, but in old cars. The Green Machine, previously driven by Johnny McIntyre, will now be pedalled by Mark Gibson, with Morgan Haber driving the Oryx Commodore that was raced by Paul Manuel last year. Looking forward to seeing those new names, how they fare at this circuit. Remember, it's all about beating that old name, Greg Murphy. He's back and he's still the man to knock over. Who's going to do it? We'll find out right throughout today. As well as new names, there's also a new series calendar. Check out what's coming up this season. Well, after the visit here in the Deep South, the series will light out the New Zealand Grand Prix at Manfield in February. March 22-23 is the first of two sprint season visits to Pukekohe. The next being April 25-27, when the SuperTourers will join the V8 Supercars for the ITM 400 to wrap up the Sprint Series. The Enduros kick off in early September in Taupo, then back south in November before the season finale at Pukekohe, which is, of course, where Greg Murphy capped it off last season. Now he's back defending his title. How does he feel about the new season?
Oh, no, listen, it's just a continuation, really. I mean, it doesn't feel like a new season, does it, being that we only finished, 7 weeks ago, the end of the championship. So, such a quick turnaround, not much time to reflect, really. We're just carrying on like nothing's changed. So, the only thing that's changed is the number on the window. I got persuaded into taking the 5 off.
New track, though. You say the series feels like it's continued. This is a very different environment.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it is such an entertaining racetrack to drive. And it's just the truth. I mean, it's so complex. Every single corner is just so different to each other. And there's nothing the same about any of it. And you've got a mix of the most interesting, funny shaped corners you've ever seen. So, and it's very challenging. So, I enjoy that. I think everyone enjoys the challenge.
So what's the secret to a quick lap here?
You've somehow got to string a lap together where you've made as minimal mistakes, which is normal for most racetracks. That's how you go fast. But being there's so many here, it's a lot harder to try and string together a complete lap.
Well, based on last year's performance, there's no mistaking who the key rival for the title is, Ant Pedersen. I know it's a quick turnaround, but how are you feeling about things?
Pretty good, Sean, yeah. Obviously, we finished second last year, so clearly we're out here to win and try and beat Greg. We've come to Highlands. I don't know if you could pick a better way to start the season, so yeah, it's cool.
Let's talk about how the last season finished. How frustrating was it? Because it was virtually there for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, last race we led. At the end of the last race, we were second, so frustrated. But obviously proud of what we achieved. Greg isn't just some nobody; he's a racing legend. So, we came second to him. But in saying that, we're here to win. We're here to beat him this season. So, bring it on.
In my trade, we like to talk about level playing fields. It really is this weekend because this is new to everybody. You've had your first taste in practice. What do you think of Highlands Park?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was actually here early. A few of us were here early on for the 101 event back in November. So obviously we've had a few laps around here, but this place in a V8 is a lot of fun. So I just want to go out and do more laps and obviously try and tune the car, make ourselves a little bit faster, and obviously be competitive for the weekend.
Well, of course, there's plenty of other drivers. There's 12 on the grid in this opening round. I've got to say, a guy, he's prone to get himself in a bit of bother, but he's been looking very quick in the warm-up to this weekend. Andre Heimgartner. I do mean it in the nicest way, but you are the wild child, or were the wild child of the series. I mean, how are you approaching this season?
Well, this season, we started off last season with a strong result. Well, we had strong pace, but we ran out of fuel at the end of the race. So we come here this season just trying to push as hard as we can and just finish races and get the points.
It's a track that could punish. How much you have to temper your behaviour here?
Yeah, it's quite a tricky track. It's much like a street circuit with all the walls. If you make a mistake, you're in the wall. So, yeah, you do have to be quite relaxed here and not get too stressed or else you'll make a mistake.
Well, that said, I want to know about your goals for the season, the fact that you've been the quickest in practice going into qualifying. How are you feeling about this year?
This year should be a good one. You know, we started out right here at Cromwell, and hopefully we can continue that on in the season. But this weekend I'm just looking for some strong results so we can stay up there in the championship and see what happens.
Well, as you can see, the drivers are out on track and qualifying for the race. And I tell you what, this is a bit like speed dating. There's no time at all to get to know this brand new circuit. No one knows it at all. So who is going to get to know it quickest? It's qualifying with Shane Drake and Jamie McCarthy.
So there are 2 qualifying sessions for the BNT V8 SuperTourers here at Highlands Park, and that will set the grids for races 1 and 2. This will be the 3rd time out on track for the SuperTourers at Highlands this weekend off the back of 2 practices. Here's Shane Drake with the track map of the Highlands Motorsport Park.
Thank you, Jamie. 14 turns make up this magnificent track as we go through turn 2, the Sound Southern Loop, up a little straight into the BNTSs, and we go through a tunnel for the first time into the 18-degree carousel, turn 5, through 7, 8, into Hankook Hairpin, and then we get to stretch the legs again, up towards the Gull Chicane, over the bridge into Lakeside, downhill here, through Fuchs Corner, past the museum, and that completes a 4.8 kilometre lap of Highlands Motorsport Park.
Thanks, Shane. It is an absolutely fantastic venue. Here are the highlights from qualifying session 1, which would set the grid for the first race. Problems early for Simon McLennan off the back of his return to the series at Pukekohe at the end of 2013 in the M2 Motorsport New World Metro Commodore. Simon Evans, brand new colours. Smeg Racing, black and chrome. The now number 4 Holden Commodore. He was strong in practice sessions 1 and 2, 2nd and 3rd respectively, and he would be in the top 6 here for qualifying session 1.
Yeah, they certainly had their fair share of bad luck at the end of last season with Johnny Reid and Evans teaming up, but new colours, new livery. This could be the turning point for the young man Simon Evans from Auckland.
One of the drivers who has experienced Highlands Motorsport Park previously. Tim Edgell, back in the Chester's Holden for 2014 in the BNT V8 SuperTourers, struggled for a little bit of car balance during the practice sessions. He could struggle here again in qualifying, just inside the top 10 in the Chester's Holden. It was a very, very quick car at the end of the Enduro season, paired with Lee Holdsworth. On board here with Ant Pedersen, 2nd in the championship, paired with Chaz Mostert. They were the Enduro champions for 2013. Top 3 in practice session 1. Weren't quite as good in practice session 2. And with the short off-season change, they have changed chassis. This is the car that Johnny Reid ran in the inaugural season for the BNT V8 SuperTourers. Down through the southern loop, and you can see how big a corner this is. Spectacular stuff out of the trees. And off there for Mitch Cunningham in the qualifying session. That would drop him back through the order out of the top 6. A 7th qualifying effort. Not a bad run though for the Cunningham Construction Ford, using all of the track here at Highlands.
This car had an extensive rebuild over the summer period, and it's now home base at Timaru. So great work by these guys to get this thing up and running.
Another looking for a big improvement in 2014 with the BNT V8 SuperTourers is Angus Fogg. 7th and 8th in the 2 practice sessions. Looking for a big improvement, more so in luck, Shane, for 2014. Poor old Foggy had a shocker in 2013.
Yeah, they showed some great turns of speed at different rounds. At Pukekohe was a highlight, but yeah, not a lot went Angus Fogg's way. So again, he turns up, he's driving hard, he's pushing it, he's been here before, so this could be his weekend.
Has been struggling with a little bit of a lack of car balance though. Andre Heimgartner, one of the young chargers in the BNT V8 SuperTourers, topped practice session 2, and they were down in the 137, so look for a target time on new green Hankook tyres here. Potentially 136s out there, and that's only about 3 seconds off the qualifying record set by Fabian Coulthard back here in November in the Tony Quinn Aston Martin GT3 Vantage.
And Heimgartner now resident in Australia to further his V8 Dunlop Series and supercar careers. So must be strange coming back for his first visit to New Zealand this year.
37-1 for Andre Heimgartner. Greg Murphy out on track in the Mike Perro Real Estate Commodore. Went out on a roaded set of tyres to get some temperatures up on board with Murph. New paint job this season. They've gone away from the vinyl car. looking nice and shiny for 2014 with the proudly worn number 1.
It's a big change for Murph, isn't it? I mean, he's held on to that number for such a long time.
He would come out, he top practice session 1, he would top qualify in the 36s, a 136.354. A fantastic effort from the reigning series champion, Eddie Bell. There's a little bit of uncertainty whether or not Eddie would be able to compete this weekend after losing his sponsor at the end of 2013. The Bell Racing Ford was very, very strong. A strong qualifying effort here with a 4th place, 137.336. New name, Mark Gibson. Not to the series, but certainly to the JMR Blackwoods Protector Ford. Mark Gibson doing the Enduros with Dominic Story in 2013. Finding his feet, and he was quite strong in the first 2 practices, making some big improvements in lap times heading into this qualifying session. So qualifying session 1 to set the grid for race 1, Greg Murphy topping the time sheets with a 136.354, a stunning 0.7 of a second ahead of Andre Heimgartner, and Pedersen 3rd, Eddie Bell 4th, Richard Moore in 5th with Simon Evans completing the top 6. So with just 15 minutes separating the 2 qualifying sessions, the teams headed out on track for qualifying session 2. Again, another 15-minute session. Could anyone top the stunning time set by Greg Murphy in qualifying session 1 at a 136.3? Mitch Cunningham, he tried hard. He just missed out on cracking the top 6. A 137.609 was a 0.6 of a second improvement from his first session, but he would be placed number 7 on the grid for race number 2, like race number 1.
That number 32 Falcon certainly looking a lot more settled in qualifying 2, so the engineers obviously worked on that through that minimal 15-minute gap.
Simon Evans didn't quite piece the ideal lap together in the first session. All of the drivers on a brand new set of green Hankooks for both sessions. Simon Evans, another big improver. He would qualify 5th at a 137.169 in the Smeg Racing Commodore. That was a big improvement from the 37.6 in the previous session. Another to improve time-wise was Ant Pedersen. Qualified 3rd in the first session, although an improvement here. He actually dropped to 4th with Richard Moore jumping ahead of him inside the top 3. Still a little bit more work to do, maybe with chassis balance with the International Motorsport J.A. Russell Ford.
As we saw in a previous onboard, that car looked very nervous going through the Sound Southern Loop. Pedersen on and off the throttle, which means it's a bit of a nervous car to get through the corner, and he's trying to get some confidence into it as he heads through the tunnel up to the 18-degree turn 5 carousel here. Bit of banking, which they're not used to in New Zealand.
Possible passing opportunity at that part of the track though, and then they go out the back of the circuit up towards the second run through the forest, up towards the hairpin, which has been changed since the last time we were here in November for the Highlands 101. And if we thought Greg Murphy's lap in session 1 was impressive at a 36.3, he simply dropped jaws with a 36.0 on the first flying lap out of the pits on a brand new set of greens. Spent the first 5 minutes in the pits, came out, did 1 lap, and put the Mike Perro Real Estate Commodore on pole again for race number 2. He will be starting up front for both races 1 and 2. Simply stunning.
Yeah, great start to the season for Murph. The car in a new livery for this year, now resident back in New Zealand.
Andre Heimgartner qualified 2nd to Greg Murphy in the first session at a 37.1. A 36.7 was an improvement, but he actually lost 1 position with Richard Moore getting ahead of the Hydrolink Commodore for Heimgartner. Well and truly right on the edge here at Highlands Park in qualifying session 2.
Paul Sebranick from Pace Innovations in Australia engineering this car this weekend, and looks like it's really paying dividends for the young man.
Well, he has been strong, topped the 2nd practice session. Very cool conditions earlier on in the day. A little bit warmer for the 2nd qualifying session. The big mover and trying hard was Richard Moore, collecting one of the tyre bundles through the bus stop down through the Southern Loop. And as you can see here, putting the race car offline. He was trying hard. He did improve, qualifying 2nd behind his M3 Racing teammate. A 136.684. That's a big gain from position 5 for race number 1 in the Barker's Commodore. Problems though for Eddie Bell after such a strong start to the weekend. He lost an engine in the 2nd qualifying session while placed 6, and that would be the end of the weekend for the Bell Racing team. No spare engine available. Just incredible disappointment, Shane.
poor old Eddie. He's had such a run of bad luck along with Angus Fogg, and look at the smoke from that expired number 69 Falcon.
One of the biggest smoke screens ever seen at Highlands Motorsport Park in its short existence.
Could be forgiven that the fog moved in.
Yeah, well, as I said, it was such a strong weekend. Top 6 in both practice sessions, qualified 4th for race number 1. Was 6th up until this point. You can just about see the disappointment as Eddie gets out of the car there. That is just heartbreaking stuff for the Christchurch privateer.
Yeah, not a lot of time left between rounds 1 and 2, only 2 weeks. The next round at Manfield for the former mini champion.
While it didn't bring out the Reds, it certainly didn't look like anyone was going to be able to improve on that blazing 1:36.0 set by Greg Murphy as the new qualifying record here at Highlands Motorsport Park. Greg Murphy, again 6/10 clear of his M3 Racing teammate Richard Moore, who qualified 2nd for race number 2. Andre Heimgartner 3rd, ahead of Ant Pedersen, Simon Evans, Eddie Bell, who would not start race number 1 or 2, Mitch Cunningham, Angus Fogg, Tim Edgell, and the young Australian Morgan Haber.
So he's got the number 1, he's P1 in the race, but can Greg Murphy stay on top? Oops, he's right behind me. We'll find out right after this.